Hello and welcome to the Real World podcast on the Real World YouTube channel. My name's Cameron. I started the channel here because I am a huge movie fanatic. I started the podcast here with my buddy Bert, who's here joining us. How you doing, Bert?
Hey, what's happening, Cam? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us again. Today's episode is about our top five favorite horror comedies. We already did our top five horror movies list just a couple weeks back, so be sure to go check that out. It is, of course, October, spooky season, so we wanted to cover as many films as we could in the kind of horror realm, movies that we watch every year. Be sure to give us a like, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell so you get notifications of all our videos here at The Real World. If you're a movie fanatic like I am, there's sure to be a lot here for you. Before we jump into our top five horror comedies, we are going to cover some movie news that dropped this week. The first biggest piece of news I wanted to talk with you about, Bert, was the new DC news. So Black Adam came out. The
Hmm.
Rock has been hyping it. It's all
Yeah.
about, the hierarchy of power in the DC universe changing. We thought he was just referring to his character being the most powerful, but there's actually a deeper meaning here. Walter Hamada, who is the president of DC Films, is now gone, and that role is now
Oh.
being filled by two individuals. So they're now the co-chairman and co-CEOs of DC, what's now called DC Studios. And these two men are Peter Safran, who's a prolific producer, has been for a couple of decades now, and James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad.
He's co-running the studio.
He is. He is
Wow.
co-running DC Studios now.
Wow.
It's a pretty big move, kind of unprecedented that such a
Yeah.
popular writer
A filmmaker.
director, right?
Yeah. To do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah,
Wow.
this was big news that dropped just this week. They're going to be overseeing all of the movies, TV series, streaming series, and animated films and series under the banner of DC. So anything based on a DC comic book is going to go through these guys. They're going to be greenlighting
Hmm.
projects and putting directors and producers on projects and finding writers and actors and all that stuff. So yeah, a
Wow.
huge shift for DC and Warner Brothers Discovery now. I see this as a win. I think this is a great move. It's very unique that, I mean, Safran, he makes a lot of sense. He's going to cover the business side. Obviously, he's a producer. He's
Yeah.
into all
Yeah.
that stuff, and so James Gunn is really there to handle the more creative side of it. And I
Yeah.
think it's a great idea to have both. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It's so rare that you get someone who's good at both, right? A guy like Kevin Feige is so rare to find over at Marvel, who's got a very
Yeah.
creative side. He's into all the comic books. He knows the history and the lore, and he's great at the business side too. James Gunn, obviously a huge fan of these characters. He's been deep into the Marvel side with the Guardians stuff. That's closing out with the third Guardians movie, which is coming out in May. And he just did the Suicide Squad, which is full of all kinds of characters, obscure characters that not a lot of people even know about, that he's really into. So yeah, I think he knows the comics. He's passionate about it. Did you get to watch the Peacemaker series, the spin-off series with John Cena?
No. No.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. It's
Um,
a TV. It's a TV series, right? Is
yeah,
what
it's
you're saying?
HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah, HBO Max. I think it's like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, something
Okay.
like that. So
Oh, it's on HBO. I could watch that then. Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it picks up right after the Suicide
Is it pretty
Squad. So
good?
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it
Oh,
was
okay.
great going deeper
Okay.
into his character.
Yeah.
You got a
His
lot of
character was
new.
brief in the movie.
Right,
I mean,
right.
relatively.
Yeah. It's a big ensemble, but yeah, he's the
Yeah.
focus of it. You go into his backstory.
Right.
You get some of those characters coming back. You get some new characters. Robert Patrick is in it. He plays his
Oh,
dad.
okay.
So
Interesting.
good casting, good acting. I thought it was a really engaging show.
Okay. Well,
Um,
and just to you mentioned Kevin Feige, I
yeah.
feel like in the past, one thing he has smartly done is listen to the audiences, and not that you want to handicap your directors creatively,
Right.
but then again, there are some directors that don't really care about what a movie might appeal to and make movies
Sure.
for what most people don't want to see.
Right. Right.
And frankly, me being sort of an everyman kind of moviegoer,
Sure.
I want to see the movies that are gonna probably appeal to more of a mass audience.
Right.
That tends
Right.
to be what I gravitate towards. So
Right. Sure.
this move of James Gunn taking
Hmm.
over, for half of running DC, maybe is
Right.
that kind of role where he knows kind of what people want, and he's probably like us, like he wants
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. I feel like that's what Kevin Feige has done. He
Hmm.
probably is a fan too, and I
Yes.
feel like that's what's maybe been missing at DC because they've
Yeah.
relatively uh fought what yeah, I don't know if it's because of budgetary reasons or
Hmm.
I don't know what it's been, but
Right.
this definitely seems like a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they've definitely fought against directors' visions, Zack Snyder in
Yeah,
that whole situation. And then we had the same
right.
thing happen with David Ayer's Suicide Squad, where they re-edited it and all that. So yeah,
Oh.
I think this move is definitely positive, and it's definitely gonna make filmmakers a lot more confident in
Mhm.
what they're going to be able to do there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. It's only a 4-year contract.
Mhm.
So we'll have to see over the next 4 years what they end up greenlighting, what projects move forward.
Yeah.
We won't really see the effects of it for a little while, but yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
Moving on, related to DC, of course, we got the big news that Henry Cavill is back as Superman officially. He announced this on his Instagram. It's all over the internet. Everyone's ecstatic about this. He actually did a Q&A with a guy named Josh Horowitz, who I really like. He's a reporter he used to be with MTV. I'm not sure where he is now, but
Oh, I know
um,
that guy. Yeah. I know
yeah,
who you're
yeah,
talking
he's
about
got,
now.
yeah, I think his podcast is called Happy, Sad, Confused, and they did a
Oh.
big sit down interview
Oh.
in a
Okay.
live theater in New York City,
Okay.
which you can watch right now on YouTube. I watched the whole thing and it was a lot of
Yeah, I
fun.
think I'll seek that out. Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah,
learn
you
more about it.
should. Right. Yeah, it was cool. And they covered the Superman stuff right
Hmm.
up front. And, he talked about how obviously he can't say much about
Yeah.
when he's going to appear next or what is going to happen with it or anything
If it's
like
Man of
that.
Steel 2 or something like that.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
If there's any director attached, but
Any Zack Snyder
um
attached or anything.
right, exactly. Yeah, there was a guy in the audience, he yelled, "Restore the Snyderverse." And he laughed
Brilliant.
at him, it was
Yeah.
funny moment. But actually Zack Snyder sent in a video too. He put a
Oh,
little video message together and um
okay.
asked him
So
a
they're getting
question.
along still, at least. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, they're still buddies. He said, loves working with Zach and so thankful that he cast him,
Wow.
obviously. And so, yeah,
That's awesome.
the future for Snyder fans looks very bright. I don't know again what's going to happen,
Yeah.
but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, it's exciting to see him back in that role, obviously. And of course, I think everyone wants a movie, and that's I'm sure the goal is to make a movie. It's just a matter of who's going to be involved. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any, let's say Snyder, let's say it's not Snyder. I think that's
Hmm.
who both of us want to kind of come back into this universe. But I was thinking a guy who would be interesting would be Christopher McQuarrie. He
Oh,
did the
yeah. Oh,
the recent
right.
Mission movies.
And Edge of Tomorrow, I think, didn't he? Was
He
he?
helped write it. He didn't
Oh,
direct it though.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think
Yeah.
he would be cool. I mean, they've already worked together, obviously, on
Sure.
Mission Impossible Fallout. He
Yeah, he'd be
actually
great.
did an interview where he said that while they were on set, they talked a lot about Superman
Mm.
because Henry Cavill obviously has been wanting to come back to the role for a while. And
Yeah.
he ran some ideas by him and he kind of gave him his 2 cents on what it would be, what his version would be. And
Right.
so they've got his number. Why don't they call him? I think he would be a great fit. There's so many great
Yeah.
ones though. So many great directors out there that I think could make a good Superman movie.
It's been, what was Man of Steel 2012,
13.
13.
Yeah.
So by the time it gets made, it's going to be a good 10 years
Yeah.
since we've had a standalone
Right.
uh, Superman movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think I told you without going into a lot of detail. That's a film that I don't know if it was the mood I was in the first time I saw it, but I thought, yeah, that was just okay. I wasn't
Right.
impressed with the ending. It's a lot of CGI and
Mm,
stuff.
sure.
And I don't know what I was thinking because I went back and revisited it.
Yeah.
And I think it's tremendous now.
It
And every
is.
time I watch it, I like it more and more. And I
Yep.
think I undervalued Cavill's honestly just his stoicism. I think
Right.
that is what I underrated. I think I
Yeah.
I mistook stoicism for I don't know, underacting
Yeah.
or not being a good actor. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm way off on that because now I'm
Sure.
entirely on the other camp,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It is a very unique performance. It's very kind of restrained and
Yeah.
inward, you know.
Yeah, but what turned on the light for me was in Batman versus Superman,
Mm,
and then I went back and watched Man of Steel, and I'm like, this is
right.
brilliant. What was I
Yeah.
thinking?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a great performance. Great actor. He's been great in everything I've seen him in.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to it. A little bit of news in regards to Star Wars. Hasn't been a whole lot of news in regards to the movie side of Star Wars. They've had directors kind of come and go on a couple of projects. And so it was exciting that this week we heard that a new Star Wars movie is being written by a guy named Damon Lindelof. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He is
No.
the guy behind Lost.
Oh,
He's
okay.
one of
That
the
was a good show.
writers.
At least
Yeah,
season one.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of that series. I really like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Pretty popular writer, TV side. He hasn't done a ton of movies.
Gotcha.
He's worked a little bit on the new Star Trek films. He's good friends with J.J. Abrams,
Oh, okay.
and so he's done, I think, a little bit of script doctoring on their Star
Yeah.
Trek films, stuff
Is
like that.
Abrams still involved with Star Trek? Or, I mean, Star Wars at this point?
I don't think so.
Oh,
No, I
really?
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think so. I think after he was done
Gotcha.
directing Episode 9, he's moved on to other
Okay.
projects now.
Hopefully Star Trek.
Yeah, it would be great if he moved back to Star Trek. We need another Star Trek movie for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lindelof is writing this new Star Wars movie. No details on the plot. All that we know is that it is um, set after the sequel trilogy. So
Okay.
beyond anything that we've seen in Star Wars lore at this point, it's going
Gotcha.
further beyond where we left off last.
And without
Um,
any input from Lucas, right at this point?
yeah, Lucas hasn't been involved since Force Awakens. He wasn't
Right.
involved with any of the sequel
Okay.
films,
Okay.
any of the spin-offs, any of the shows,
Gotcha.
anything like that. Yeah. Um, although he has shown up on set. He did show up on set, I
Oh.
think, on Solo, because Ron
Oh,
Howard
okay.
directed that. They're good buddies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he was on set for
Mhm.
that. But yeah, this new Star Wars movie, I'm just curious about it. Again, I think going after the sequel trilogy is a great idea. It's unexplored territory. It's not
Right.
you're not getting bogged down in like when exactly does this take place? How does it connect? And all these other
Yeah.
things. You can kind of just go do your own thing. Um, they say that
Hmm.
sequel trilogy characters could appear. So Rey, Finn, Poe, they could all show up in this new film in a smaller role, perhaps. But it's supposedly all about new characters.
Hmm.
They got one of the directors from the recent Miss Marvel series that the MCU did. Her name is Charmine Obaid Chinoy, and she is supposedly on board already to direct it as well. So
Oh.
it looks like it's
Wow.
pretty far along into the pre-production phase already. No casting news or anything like that yet, but they're moving on it. So that's
Hmm.
pretty exciting. We've only gotten series since episode
Yeah.
9 was released in 2019. So
Yeah.
some great series. Mandalorian is one of my favorite Star Wars things ever. This new Andor show that's out, I think, is great.
Hmm.
So some good
Yeah.
content, but can't wait to get back to seeing Star Wars on the big screen. That's where it belongs. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll do right by it.
Going over to Marvel, it was actually just announced today that Paul Bettany is returning as Vision officially, and
Really?
yeah, and he is actually getting his own Disney Plus series. It is titled Vision Quest, and it will
Hmm.
be Vision after the events of WandaVision, which I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
you watched, did you?
I watched it and I did not
Okay.
like it.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, but
So,
but the thing is, I like both of those characters. I just didn't
sure.
really like the universe that they put us in that
Gotcha.
show for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's very, very
But
different. Very different from what
yeah,
Marvel has done before.
but then Wanda was tremendous in
Yeah.
the most recent Doctor Strange, and
Oh,
Vision's
sure.
been one of my favorite characters in Marvel for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. This
Yeah,
is going to be an interesting show because, Vision obviously tragically died at the end of Infinity War, but
right.
she brought him back.
Endgame. Or wait, was
It
it
was
Infinity
Infinity
War?
War. Yep.
Oh
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
When Thanos
Yeah, I
pulls the
guess it
stone.
right. Yeah, that was
Yep.
at the end of Infinity Infinity War. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
right. So she brought him back through her magical abilities,
Hmm.
and now we have a
Right.
character who's known in the comics as the White Vision. He's all, covered in white instead of the red and green and stuff. And we do see him at the end of WandaVision. I don't know if you remember
I
in the
can't
final
remember.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Mm.
final episode, they have a big kind of showdown, but he doesn't remember who he
Oh.
is. He's kind of a
Oh.
blank
Okay.
slate at this point. That's why it's called Vision
Gotcha.
Quest, because he's kind
Oh.
of on this journey to discover who he is, who he's
Okay.
connected to, what his past is, and
Hmm.
who he's going to be moving forward, I guess. So that should be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jack Schaefer is on board, who I think was involved in the WandaVision series, and Elizabeth Olsen could return as well, they've said. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really interested to see where they go with that, what he ends up doing. I'm sure he'll come back in the upcoming Avengers movies, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I like him a lot as that character. I think he's perfect casting for Vision. Just his voice and his performance, it all comes through. I like seeing his progression of this kind
Hmm.
of android who becomes more human as we get to know him. And as
Yeah.
he learns, it's such an interesting idea. So yeah, curious to see what they do with that show.
Yeah. Vision's so different than
Mm-hmm.
the other superheroes.
Right.
And I think it's the way Paul Bettany plays him, I guess.
Yeah, he's such a tremendous actor. He
Yeah.
does such
Yeah.
great work.
Right.
Very emotional scenes between him and Wanda in those
Yes.
movies. Very well done.
Yep.
It's such an odd thing. Like I remember when my wife and I watched Civil War is the first real interaction that they have, and she's like, "This is so weird. Like she's a witch and he's a robot, but I like it,
When you put it that
But
way, yeah.
it's like, but
Right.
yeah,
Right.
the actors I think, and obviously the writing and everything that goes into it is really well
Yeah.
done. So
Yes.
yep, that should be interesting. They should start shooting that hopefully next year, and maybe we
Hmm.
get it in 2025. Last bit of news before we get into the trailers. Zach Kreger. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
He's been around for a little while, but he's kind of an up and coming writer director. He did this new film I actually just watched last night. I've not been able to stop thinking about it. It's called Barbarian. You heard of this?
No. No.
New film, kind of went under the radar, but it's just getting rave reviews, and they just dropped it on HBO Max this
Oh,
week.
okay.
So I highly recommend it if you're into horror, which I know you are.
Yeah. I
But
usually,
if
yeah.
if anyone
Especially if it's
listening,
good.
yeah, if anyone listening is into the horror genre, they definitely want to check this out. It is disturbing.
Okay.
It is intense. It You can't guess what's going to happen next. The less you know, the better.
Sweet. Yeah.
Just
I'm
jump
down.
into it and tell me what you think, because I think
Good.
you're
I
going to get a
will.
big kick out of this one.
Barbarian, it's called.
Barbarian. Yeah, you'll see it when
Any known actors in it or no?
Bill Skarsgård. I'll say he's
Oh,
in it, who
awesome.
I know
Yeah,
you like.
I love to watch him in anything.
Yeah, and I'll also let you know that Justin Long is in it because I think you
Oh,
like
I
him
love
too.
Justin Long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He's so
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah. He's great. He's great. Both do a great job in it, and I'm not going to say anything else. Just go watch it
Okay.
and enjoy it.
Great.
So he's come out and said that his kind of dream project is to work on a movie set in the DC universe, specifically in Gotham City. He's actually already written the full script for this movie that he wants to make. It doesn't involve Batman,
Oh, okay.
but it is set in the world of Gotham City,
Interesting.
and he wouldn't reveal anything else about it. I watched an interview with him today, but
Okay.
it focuses on mostly new characters, but it's kind of set in that
Hmm.
world. And so I hope he
Okay.
gets to make it. I hope James Gunn and Peter Safran here get wind of this and let him make that movie, because that would be really
Right.
exciting.
Nice.
All right, let's jump into the trailers that dropped this week. A couple of big ones. The first one I want to talk about is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is the third Ant-Man movie, which is releasing in February, and it is kicking off phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It will
Oh,
end
that's the start of phase five.
right.
Okay.
Phase 4
Gotcha.
ends with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever,
Okay.
which is coming out in a
Okay.
couple weeks, and then
Right.
phase 5 kicks off with this movie, which just looks great. I mean, I think it looks fun, funny. it starts with Ant-Man kind of living on top of the world. He's this huge popular superhero, has his family all together. And then, of course, they get sucked into the quantum realm and they have to go on this adventure there. Looks like his daughter is going to play a major role, Cassie, who becomes a major superhero in her own right in the comics, named
Oh, really?
Stature. Yeah, she's one of these characters who, like her father, can grow to enormous size. She
Oh,
uses it more for that than the shrinking. But she's
gotcha.
one of the young Avengers who are their own kind of team of kind of teenage superheroes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like they're setting that up because Hawkeye did that with Kate Bishop. Haley Steinfeld's character is a younger kind of version of Hawkeye, basically. And the new Thor movie kind of set up a younger Thor. So there's all these kind of little hints that they're dropping about them
Hmm.
possibly doing a Young Avengers thing, which would be fun. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, this Ant-Man movie, it looks fun, it looks funny, but it does look more serious, looks a little more dramatic,
Hmm.
definitely more epic. I mean, the quantum realm, we only get a taste of it in the first one. And the second one, we have a couple scenes in the
Yeah.
quantum
Yeah.
realm, but this one, the whole
Right.
movie is just going to be in this
Okay.
bizarre, weird world, the subatomic universe that
Yeah.
the original Wasp, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, was trapped in for years. And so she kind of knows more about it. It seems like she knows about this villain who is Kang the Conqueror, who is this big kind of going to be the big overarching villain of the multiverse saga that we're in now, kind of the new Thanos, basically the new big villain, played by Jonathan Majors. So we're going to get him fully revealed. We saw a scene with him in Loki. It was a variant version of him
Mm.
in the Loki
Okay.
series. But this is the actual guy, it
Okay.
seems like. So yeah, I'm curious to see him, of course. Just the bizarre imagery looks great.
Yeah.
More Michelle Pfeiffer, more Michael Douglas. So yeah, I think it looks fun, looks action packed, looks interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it looked fun. I'm still waiting for that epic Ant-Man film.
Mm,
The both of those two films I put kind of in my lower tier. I liked
mhm.
them both.
Yeah,
So I mean they're both at least 2.5 stars to me.
sure.
But yeah, I am kind of waiting for that epic one, and I hope that
Hmm.
this one gets that treatment. It looks promising.
Yeah,
So I mean I'll definitely be watching it when it comes out,
yeah.
but I'm hopeful that it's a little better than the first two.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of those Ant-Man movies. They're definitely they're probably mid-tier for me. They're not, I wouldn't say they're lower. I just really like the family aspect of it. It
Sure.
feels
Yeah.
more family friendly than most of them, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious. I think Paul Rudd is just hilarious.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
dig him
Yeah,
as the character. It's a
sure.
unique character. He has a cool kind of redemption arc. He's this criminal who kind of is reformed, and
Right.
I like all the relationships and
Yeah.
just such a. I mean, you say Ant-Man, it's just such a funny like idea, even that Stan Lee came up with this character. Like, he talks to ants and he can
Yeah.
shrink, and it's like, wow.
Right.
But they make it really fun and cool.
They are fun movies. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
like how
And
the
maybe
first one leans into the heist elements, which I think is cool.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I need to watch them again, and it's
Yeah.
possible they're more like, 3-star or higher. I
Hmm.
just yeah, they're just not I feel like they've just been shortcutted a little bit
Yeah.
compared to some of the bigger
Right.
films.
Yeah.
But they are good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this one's gonna impress you. I feel like this one is gonna be a
Yeah,
pretty big, and like I said,
I
it has
think
a more
so.
serious tone to the
Right,
trailer a little
right.
bit. Like it's kind of fun and silly at first, and then when they get into the
Yeah.
quantum realm, there's a lot of kind of serious stuff going on. Kang, he seems like a really tough villain. I mean, he's obviously going
Yeah.
to be the big villain of the Avengers movies. He's getting the Kang Dynasty is the third, or I guess the fifth Avengers movie that's going to come out in a couple years. So yeah,
So
I'm
it's
just
all
curious.
leading to that, it sounds like. Yeah.
Right, right. This is his
Gotcha.
introduction, and then we're going to
Gotcha.
lead into that. Yeah, that one comes out coming up here in February, so not too far away.
Sweet.
All right, the next trailer that dropped this week, just a couple days after the Ant-Man one, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which harkens back to. I think of the Star Wars holiday special, which is
You know about
infamous.
that?
Of course, yeah. Every Star Wars
Yeah.
fan knows about this
That's funny
terrible
stuff. Yeah.
thing that was
This isn't going to
created.
be that though, thankfully.
No, thank goodness. Yeah. It looks like James Gunn is definitely writing and directing this. And it's obviously building off of where we left off with them in Endgame, and Thor Love and Thunder, which they
Right.
had a small
Right.
role in. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it shows that, I guess Star-Lord's kind of a little down because the holidays are coming up and he's missing Gamora, who they're still looking for. So the Guardians decide to go down to Earth, and to cheer him up, they're going to present as a gift Kevin Bacon, his great hero, which is great. I know you still haven't seen the Guardians movies, right?
No, I
Right.
started the first one a long time ago and I
Yeah.
wasn't digging it. I watched
Right.
maybe 40 minutes of it and turned it
Okay.
off. But
Okay.
since then, I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching them
Yeah.
because I ended up liking them a lot in
Okay.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Sure. Sure.
So, and this trailer looks like more of the same, so
Right.
I'm definitely on board at this point. I just need to go
Okay.
back and watch the entire films, but I have a different perspective now too on those. So,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
yeah.
I'm sure you'll get some enjoyment out of them. They the reason they go get Kevin Bacon, he's actually mentioned several times in both of the Guardians films, because Peter Quill, of course, grew up on Earth.
Really?
He grew up on Earth
Oh,
till he was about 10 or 11 is when he was
sure. Yeah,
abducted,
I
and
get that.
so
Yeah,
he grew up watching all these 80s movies. That was the
right.
last thing he saw was movies in the 80s because that's when he was taken up. And Footloose was one of his favorites, and so he constantly refers to all these
Okay,
aliens. They don't know who Kevin Bacon or
right.
what Footloose is, and he's constantly tells them
Gotcha.
about this Earth legend of this great hero named Kevin Bacon who saved this small town, and all this stuff. And so
Right.
the Guardians think, oh, Kevin Bacon, we need to, he's this great hero of Earth, and we need to go kidnap him and bring him
Yeah, that's great.
to Star Lord. It's just a great idea, and the fact that they got
Yeah,
Kevin Bacon to
it's
do it is
right.
even better. So yeah,
Yeah,
this is going to be lots of fun. A lot of Drax and Mantis looks like walking around
yes.
Hollywood and
Yeah,
encountering Earth culture for the first time. It's just going to be tons of laughs and lots of fun. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this.
me too. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of meta, but that can be awfully
Right.
funny sometimes.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, not his first time in a Marvel film, right? I mean, not the first character he'll have played. He was an X-Men, right?
Oh, good point. Yes, yes, not in the MCU, but yeah, and X-Men First Class. Yeah, he does
Yeah,
play the villain in that, Sebastian Shaw,
right,
and he did a
right.
good job in that role. I really
I
like
think
him in that.
so. I mean, the thing is, he is actually a terrific actor.
I think so
Um,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah,
We
so
need to
it's
do a
cool that
Kevin Bacon podcast, I think.
we probably could 6 degrees. Just call it 6 degrees.
Right.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, it's cool that he's playing obviously this version of himself.
Yeah.
That always is fun to see actors do
Right.
that. So
Right.
yeah, I'm curious to see where it's going to go, and if there's going to be any implications for the larger MCU, we don't know. It might just be a
Right.
fun little thing,
One
but
off or
I'm sure
something.
it
Yeah.
I'm sure it will probably connect to Guardians 3 because that's coming out in
Hmm.
May. So they're
Yeah,
going to
I'm
want to tee
sure.
that up at least in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious about it, and excited to see when that comes out. November 25th is when that one drops on Disney Plus.
Yeah. It looks awesome.
All right, now it is time to jump into our top 5 favorite horror comedies. So, like I mentioned before, we've already done our top 5 horror films. You can go watch that podcast on the channel now. But we also wanted to talk about horror comedies because this is another subgenre that we're both fans of, and that there are a lot of good ones out there. So, we thought we'd cover some of our favorites. What I'm looking for in a horror comedy is just simply something that blends those two genres well, which can be difficult. These are kind of diametrically opposed genres. One of them's trying to
Exactly. Yeah.
terrify you and scare you, and the other one is trying to make you laugh. So there's a good mix here on my list of some that are really lean more into the comedy and just kind of use the horror kind of atmosphere and aesthetic for a background. And there are others that are really scary, but also make you laugh, kind of. So mine kind of has a mix. That's kind of what I was looking for, a good kind of blend of really
Mhm.
funny ones and then other ones that are actually scary, but do make you laugh as well. Is that kind of what you were thinking with your list?
Yeah, yeah, and you and I didn't talk about this, but that's exactly it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because you got the sort of those two forces that play together. I mean, it's kind of like a scale, where you're balancing. Like some
Mm,
are like way more funny than anything, and
right.
others are pretty, actually scary, but have a little
Right.
bit of comedy. So, and then some
Yeah.
are right in the middle. So it's kind of an
Right.
interesting sort of subgenre to look at.
Yeah, yeah, it was a fun one. I got to rewatch quite a few of my favorites this week. So yeah, yeah, it was a fun one
Yeah.
to do. You want to jump into honorable mentions?
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I um kind of like with one of our prior podcasts, I think our actually our horror podcasts. I didn't actually bring in any alien comedies, but no
Okay,
problem if you did. But there are a couple others that probably would have thrown in there, but I'll probably
sure.
save them for some other podcast we have.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And then I wanted to say too that there's a lot of silly horror comedies that are just purposely bad and low budget and
Sure.
sort of nonsense stuff. And I'm not really attracted to those. Like I've seen a lot of
Yeah,
those, and I do
right.
tend to seek out a lot of horror movies, but I tend to go
Yeah,
for the more serious ones. But then some of these horror comedies, a lot of them are not actually very good, but there are a
right.
few
Yeah,
that I have on my list here, though,
right,
that I think are standouts. So it's not really a genre I necessarily seek out, and a lot of times I'm disappointed with them, but there are
right.
some good ones.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of B movies out there. I mean, this genre is just
Yeah.
packed full of them, the horror
Yes.
and horror comedy, a lot of them out there. So yeah, whittling it down was a lot of fun because yeah, there are some that just rise to the top. All right, let's look at our honorable mentions because I have quite a few I wanted to go through. A lot in this genre that I enjoy, a lot that I revisit quite often.
Hmm.
So I'll kick us off. One that goes back to my childhood is Casper,
Oh,
the
sure.
friendly ghost. I
Hmm.
mean, it's just a fun family film. Bill Pullman is great
Yeah.
in it. I'm a big fan of his, and Christina Ricci does a great job in it as well. So that was one that I grew up watching that I had to mention. I really like that one. Have you seen that?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
James Horner's score is really good on that one
Oh,
too. He's got some good
yes.
music in there.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he does. He does for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that was the first one I wanted to mention. Moving into more modern one that I've seen more recently, it's called What We Do in the Shadows. It's a mockumentary
Mm.
Taika Waititi did with Jermaine Clement. I found it to be hilarious. I think it's really clever. Lot of laughs in there for me. The way it's shot again, like a documentary style film, just following these vampires and how they kind of live their life. A
Yeah.
lot of just silly stuff that I got a kick out of. So that one I enjoyed. Did you have you seen that one?
I watched it recently,
Oh,
and
really?
I wanted to like it more. I like
Yeah.
Taika Waititi a lot.
Right.
I thought it was good, but I just didn't find myself laughing enough or throughout it. Like
Mm,
there were definitely times where I was laughing,
right.
but overall, I just found that it just didn't have like a lot of laughs. And then,
Yeah.
and interestingly, yeah, it is that mockumentary style.
Hmm.
And there were actually more than one scary parts, which is
Yeah.
funny for a mockumentary because
Right.
it's it's a spoof of a documentary, yet it
Sure.
actually was legitimately scary a couple times at
Yeah.
least.
That's
But
true.
yeah, I don't know. I think I gave it 2 stars. It was
Okay.
decent. It's
Yeah.
possible it could grow on me over time too.
Yeah, yeah. I want to rewatch because I've only seen it the once, and it did
Mm.
feel it felt a little long to me. It felt like it
That
dragged
yeah,
on a
that's what
little
I was
long,
thinking. Yeah,
but
but it does have some funny parts though.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely laughed a couple times. Another more recent one is Willy's Wonderland.
Oh,
You heard of
I
this?
saw that. I
Did you
saw that.
really? What did you think of that?
I don't know. It was I was hoping for more. I don't know.
Okay,
It was just okay to me. I think
okay,
that one I was probably even lower on, maybe like 1.5 stars. It just didn't really
okay.
hit. It just didn't really hit for me.
Gotcha.
I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't so wondrous to me.
Yeah, I gotcha. It was exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah. Did you find
I,
it funny? Did you find it was funny enough?
I found it was funny, but it was more of like a action thriller almost. Like it's
Yes.
a lot
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
intense fight sequences and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Right.
such a bizarre idea. As a kid that grew up going to Chuck E. Cheese, it just horrified
Exactly.
me.
That's
And And
Right.
I also love that, Nick Cage is in it, right? He's like the main character, but he does not
Yeah.
speak a single line of dialogue that whole film. I found
Right.
that fascinating.
I'd love to know how that came about. If that
Right.
was what drew him to the project. I mean,
Yeah,
because he likes
probably
to try
was.
new things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I
was
like
so
Nick Cage.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely didn't get paid by the dialogue and by the
By the
word,
word or
right?
something. Yeah.
Another kind of parody that I like is Cabin in the Woods.
Oh,
Have
sure.
you seen that?
Yes, I have.
That
Yeah.
is such a good one. I really like that one. Drew Goddard directed it, and it's got Chris Hemsworth in it, an early
Hmm.
role, I think right before, right
Right.
after he did Thor. So that one's cool. That one just subverts expectations in really cool ways that I really liked. So that's one I like. Well, I've already mentioned a few. Do you have any that you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm going to mention a few here.
Yeah.
The one that probably barely missed my list
Mm.
was The Mummy. And I
Um,
probably could have also just put this on my top five because it is extremely good. It's one I've seen
yeah,
numerous times. I mean,
sure.
I've bought this on I bought it on DVD, I bought it on Blu-ray, I mean, I'd probably buy it on HD,
Right.
ultra.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. I mentioned this before. The commentary with Brendan Fraser is really awesome.
Still
It's
need to
like,
hear that. I haven't
oh,
done that
really?
yet.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like him sitting next to you in the theater, and sometimes you're like, okay, but be quiet because I want to
Right.
watch this now. I mean, it's that intimate. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that's cool.
And it, I will say the CGI is not always great in it,
Mm,
but it's definitely a very enjoyable all around film.
yeah.
And the sequel's good too, even though that one has the
Mhm.
worst CGI ever with the end scene.
Right. Yes.
um, Another one
Yeah.
I'll mention is again, this is a very good one, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yeah, that's on my honorable mentions. I was just about to mention that.
Okay.
Great
We can
one.
maybe both talk about it then.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's just a funny zombie apocalypse film.
Hmm.
The only reason I didn't put this in my top five is that I feel like the third act is mostly just them trying to sort of just outlive the situation, and the comedy
Right.
just kind of fades down almost entirely.
Sure. Yeah.
And for it's funny because I really like zombie films, but I don't
Hmm.
love it when they're super gory. And I know that's kind
Yeah.
of people would say, well, why do you like them then? Well, I sort of like the just sort of the intense nature of it, of the fact that there
Sure.
could be a zombie around the corner.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, it gets a little gory,
Yeah.
which again
Yeah.
is just kind of my preference. I don't really love that kind of thing, but the
Right.
comedy in it in the first like couple acts is terrific, and it's
Yeah.
what's his name? Nicholas Pegg? Is that his name?
Well, there's Simon Pegg, and then there's
Simon
Nick
Pegg.
Frost.
Oh, no wonder I got confused.
Combined them.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Simon Pegg. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was like one of the first films I saw with him in it. I think that
Okay.
was even before Star Trek.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like 2004 that came out. I didn't
Yeah.
see it until much later. I only
Mm,
watched it for the first time probably 3 or 4 years ago. So, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It
mhm.
has a lot of heart. That's what I like about it. It's really about
Yeah, sure,
him and Nick
sure.
Frost and their relationship. And
Right.
yeah, I get that the comedy kind of does fade away a little bit, but I think that's because the reason I think that works is because they've built up this relationship, and it is about
Yeah.
these two guys at the end, this kind of dramatic
Sure.
situation they're in.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's just a really well made movie. Edgar Wright, he's a director I really like. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's a bad film if the comedy
Sure,
isn't there
sure,
at the end. I'm just saying
right,
it's an exceptional film
yep,
if you can have a comedy in whatever subgenre to
right,
where the comedy never trails off. Like a good example
yeah.
just off the top of my head is Elf.
Oh,
Like that
sure,
movie to
sure,
me is so funny. Like the last act, I feel like it turns into kind of a schmaltzy
sure,
film, and there's not
right, right,
like the biting funny stuff that was in the first
right.
few acts.
I see what you're
So
saying. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
gotcha.
Another one I'll throw out then is Ghostbusters, the original,
Oh, of
which
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
is it's obviously a terrific comedy,
Yep.
legendary at this point. I
Hmm.
mean, mostly it's Bill Murray that gives us so much life, and
Cool.
also Rick Moranis is his
Right.
weirdness, and he's got some funny
Yes,
lines in it and
he
stuff. There's some
does.
great stuff in that film.
Yeah.
And once again, it's just the third act that I think that
Mm,
and not that it's void of anything good in the third act, and I get that
right.
they wanted to build to something, but what it is it's just kind of, it almost comes across kind of 80 music video-ish, and it is weird, and there's some
Right.
humor,
Yeah.
but anyway, it is a very good
Yeah.
film, but it's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that was up high on my honorable mentions. It was one I definitely considered for the top five. Didn't
Mm,
quite make it, but it's kind of
yeah.
one of those movies I feel like it shouldn't work. Like the idea just like who would make a movie out of that? But it totally works because I think the script is really great.
Yeah,
Obviously, Ivan Reitman is a great director. That cast is
sure,
just perfect.
sure.
The way they all work together. Murray, the
Yeah.
way he plays off of Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis and
Hmm.
Ernie Hudson. Sigourney Weaver is great in it, and
Yeah, right,
just a
right.
really, really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, and those guys are, well, were because Ramus is no longer around, but I mean, they're,
Right.
you can tell they're friends in real life, and
Yeah,
that
right.
that
They're just
helps a
having
lot.
fun.
I mean, Ramus and Aykroyd, I mean, sorry, Ramus and Bill Murray did Stripes together,
Oh,
and
sure, sure.
of
Yeah.
course Ramus he was a great director in his own right, but
Yeah, yeah. Groundhog
yeah,
Day.
that can help push a film. Sometimes that
Hmm.
doesn't work, but in this
Yeah,
case, it worked really well in Ghostbusters.
definitely.
Not the
I
sequel
agree.
though, but in the original.
I know. I just watched part two and I was like, ooh, this is not as good.
Yeah,
Yeah, they tried
yeah.
to recapture it. And there's still
Uh-huh.
moments that I enjoyed, but just
Uh-huh.
overall it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Few more I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Little Shop of Horrors, speaking of Rick Moranis.
Oh, sure.
That one is tons of fun. This
Hmm.
musical kind of horror thing. Frank Oz directed it. He's a great director, and I just have a blast with
Yeah,
that. Beetlejuice, I think, is great. Tim Burton, Michael
that is
Keaton,
a good one. Yeah.
maybe Keaton's best role. I think he's
Yeah,
great in
maybe.
that. He's just
Yeah.
hilarious all the way through it. Gina
Right.
Davis and Alec Baldwin, Catherine O'Hara, just excellent cast. Winona Ryder, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah, that one has a lot of fun effects too, and it's just a real zany kind of weird movie.
Sure.
Um, so that one I like. Gremlins, huge fan of Gremlins. I'll watch Gremlins every year. Both. I think the sequel is just as good, if not better.
Really.
So I
Okay.
really like both of those Gremlins movies. Joe Dante, great director, great effects and puppetry in that movie. So I like that one. Death Becomes Her was one I considered. Robert Zemeckis
Sure.
movie that I really like. Really like Warm Bodies.
That's
Um,
my honorable mentions too.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Zombie
like that one.
rom-com. Man, it's just what a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fun movie. Did you want to say anything else about that? That's
Who's
just
the
a
guy
great
that's in that one? I always forget his
Nicholas
name.
Holt.
He's been in a lot of good stuff.
He's a great actor. Really, really
Yes.
talented.
Yes. I like him a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
Yeah, him and Teresa Palmer do a great job in that. And so yeah, that's one that I've watched a couple times. Just a couple more here. One is called Freaky with Vince Vaughn.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you like it?
No, I
No,
didn't.
didn't like it. I
I
thought
wasn't
it was
really
great.
buying it. Did
Yeah.
you?
I thought
Okay.
his performance was so believable. I thought I totally bought him as a teenage girl.
Sure.
And then the
Yeah.
teenage girl has to play a serial killer, which I thought she did a great job too.
Yeah,
So
the thing is I didn't hate it. If I
yeah.
reviewed it now, maybe it would be 2 stars, but it's
Hmm.
been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But so I didn't hate it. I just
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know that I liked it enough to say 2.5 stars or higher, but
Yeah. I just got
yeah.
a kick out of it. I thought
Mhm.
I thought there were actually some really intense moments in it too.
Mhm.
To go along with the, just funny fact that it's a body switch movie that Vince Vaughn is playing a teenage girl. It's just such a funny idea, but
Yeah.
I like him a lot, so I got a kick out of that one. Let's see. Last one for me on honorable mentions is Tremors,
Oh, sure,
which
yeah.
I think is just great. Real, just a great movie, just in general.
Kevin
It's
Bacon.
yeah, another Kevin Bacon. There we go, bringing it back. Yeah, him and Fred Ward. Fred Ward just passed away recently, I think,
Oh,
within the last year. But yeah, Ron Underwood did a great job directing that. That's one of those that just has that great blend of horror and comedy. It's
yeah,
basically Jaws on land is what it's been
right.
referred to as. The graboids, that kind of go underground and try to get you. And it's a
Yeah,
small town and a lot of just quirky characters in there.
right,
That
right.
are fun to watch. So yeah, that one that one I watch a lot. Actually, that's a movie I watch
Uh,
very often. One of these cult classics. It didn't do well at the box office at all when it was released, and kind of over time on video just gained this cult following.
yeah, spawned a lot of sequels too, I think, didn't it?
That's right. There've been like 5 or 6 sequels. I've never seen any of them, but
Yeah, me
got a
either.
fan base.
I actually did see the original in the theater way back
Really? Oh,
when,
cool.
yeah, and I liked it a lot. There weren't that
Yeah.
many good creature films that I had seen at that point,
Yeah.
and Kevin Bacon's great in it, and
Hmm.
it's a pretty small cast, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
the characters are funny.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So that's one I really enjoyed. Did you have any more honorable mentions?
Yeah, I'll just run through a few quick
Sure.
ones. Happy Death Day.
Oh,
I
I
don't know
still
if you've
haven't
seen
seen that.
this. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's it's one of the since Groundhog Day, there's been a few of these films that have kind of that same sort of deal
Sure.
where someone's reliving the same day, and this is
Oh,
one of those,
okay.
except it's a slasher film,
Okay.
and it's pretty good. It's pretty
Okay.
good. It's not great, but it's definitely worth watching. It's definitely
Cool.
worth watching.
Cool. Okay.
Another one is Come to Daddy. Have you seen this one?
I
It
don't think so.
stars
No.
it stars Elijah Wood, and
Okay.
I don't want to get into a lot because it'd be
Yeah.
great if you don't know any of the plot details. I'll just
Sure.
say that a man travels to a remote cabin to reconnect with his father.
Okay.
And if you can find it, it's really good.
Hmm.
I like Elijah Wood a lot. I try to see
Yeah.
almost everything that he's in,
Yeah.
and it is a horror movie, and it's
Okay.
just, but it's some hilarious things happen, and he's just I mean, the way he plays his characters, I just really enjoy the way he the nuances that he gives to his characters, you
Yeah.
know?
He's really good. Really good
Yeah.
actor. I've always
Yeah.
liked him. Since he was really young, I've liked him actually.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
wasn't he in Back to the Future or part
yeah,
two
that
or
was his
something?
first
Yeah.
role. Yeah, that little small
Yeah.
bit part he had in that. Yeah, and then I watched
Yeah.
him in stuff like Flipper and
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
other movies he made. But
Yes.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
a
I'll have
good
to
kid
check
actor.
that out.
He was in a movie called with Macaulay Culkin, the Good Son. That was what
Oh,
it was.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and he was really good. Both of them were really good child
Yeah,
actors in that film.
yeah.
Anyway, another Elijah Wood horror comedy is the film called Cooties, which I just watched.
Oh, I saw your
Uh,
review on Letterboxd.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I watched that a day or two ago, and it's
yeah.
about these teachers at an elementary school, and they're holed up after a zombie outbreak, and
Oh,
it's very
interesting.
similar actually to Shaun of the Dead, and kind of
Oh,
its
okay.
tone, you know,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe a bit more brutal even than Shaun of the Dead, but it was
Okay.
very entertaining. Yeah, and
Okay.
Elijah Wood is really good in that.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah, and especially Rainn Wilson.
Okay.
And then a couple more here. Army of Darkness. That
Oh,
is
sure.
one that I really like. I saw it for the first time, and I have a feeling it's one I'll probably revisit a few more times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just funny. And you know, the Evil Dead films were too gory for me, you know, but
Right.
I liked the way they're shot. I like the humor and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
But this third one was there's still some gore for sure, but
Yeah.
it was more along the lines of what I guess I was into,
Sure.
and I just
Sure.
love Bruce Campbell's humor in it. It's
Yeah.
really
He's
funny.
great. Yep.
And I like all the shout outs to Michigan State University in all three films, actually.
Right.
I have to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll mention is a movie called Tusk. Have you heard of this crazy film?
Oh, the Justin Long. Didn't Kevin
Yes.
Smith do that?
He did. It's
Okay.
yeah, and it's probably the only Kevin Smith film I've ever liked.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Um
never seen it, but I've heard a lot about it. I've heard it's like a super weird, creepy
yeah,
movie.
yeah, it's fairly disturbing, and then most
Yeah.
of the time I don't know whether it's supposed to be funny or not. I took it
Right.
more as a serious film, but there's definitely some comedy in it. And
Right.
Justin Long is funny, just his
Yeah.
character, like
Right.
it's not like a zany kind of comedy, but
Right.
his character is funny
Yeah.
throughout, and what
Sure.
he goes through is pretty crazy. The ending is pretty crazy, but if you get a chance to
Okay.
watch it, it is pretty interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll look out for it.
Yeah.
All right, so those are our honorable mentions, some that almost made the list, but now we're going to jump into our top five favorite horror comedies of all time. Bert's going to kick us off. What is your number five?
It is Drop Dead Gorgeous from I think
Oh,
1999.
yeah, good movie.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
it's
Yeah,
another mockumentary,
right,
and
right,
for those that don't know, it's about a beauty pageant, and there's some of the pageant contestants start getting offed,
right.
and it's just got this great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsten Dunst, Denise Richards, the two of them are kind of rival
Yep,
pageant contestants.
right.
And then Ellen Barkin is so trashy in this movie. It's
Oh,
so
yeah,
funny. She
right,
owns like every scene. I can't even describe some of the it's just brilliant, some of the comedy in this thing.
right.
Kirstie Alley, she's sort of this
Yes,
petty, self-righteous pageant mom. Like I'm sure there's lots of those.
sure.
And then Allison Janney, she
Oh,
actually
yeah,
won an Academy Award for kind of a similar role in I, Tonya, which is a
that's
pretty good
right.
movie.
It
I
is.
don't know if you
Yeah,
saw
I
I,
like that
Tonya.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's great in it too.
Yeah,
And it's just a hilarious mockumentary. There's nothing really scary in this movie. The homicides are pretty preposterous as far as that
sure.
goes.
Yeah,
This is kind of a whodunit, but it just sort of captures like middle America and its obsession with these
very
okay, I don't want to criticize
strange.
them too much, but these
Yeah,
pageants,
I know.
and it just lampoons reality TV at the same time. It kind of makes fun of reality TV,
Yes.
and it's one of these. I've probably seen this film at least 6 times since it
Okay.
came out, and it
Cool.
just gets better with each viewing.
Cool. I can't wait to rewatch it because I watched it for the first time, I think last year or the year
Oh,
before. So
really?
pretty
Yeah,
recently.
yeah,
And yeah, just great satire, great
yes,
comedy, great
yeah.
cast. Yeah, really, really clever. I really like that one. So yeah, I definitely want to watch it again. I don't remember all the details on it, but definitely a movie I had a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, that is your number five. We're going to move on to my number five, which is They Live. This is from
Oh,
1988.
okay,
It is a John Carpenter film.
okay,
Director I'm a huge fan of. This movie is a very low budget movie he did after he had a couple hits already. People still didn't really want to make this movie because it's got a lot of layers to it. It's one of those. It's a satire. It's very
hmm.
much movie about our society and politics, and it covers all kinds of different things. So
Oh,
it is an alien kind of movie.
is it? Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's basically stars Roddy Piper, who is a wrestler.
The wrestler, yeah.
Yeah, right. So he's in it. He's the main character,
Okay.
and he's kind of just this wanderer, wanders into this city looking for work, and meets Keith David, who's kind of the co-lead in it, and
Okay.
ends up kind of discovering this group of people who are kind of shady. He's not sure what they're up to, and he finds this big box of sunglasses, and he puts them on, and he can now see the aliens. So basically, aliens are all
Oh.
among us, all around the world. They're on
Kind of reminds me of Free
television.
Guy.
What's that?
Kind of reminds me of Free Guy. Free Guy. The
Sure, sure. Yeah, Free Guy took a lot from this. Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely. A
Yeah.
lot of movies have. Lego Movie even kind of harkens to this
Oh.
a little bit. It's actually based on a short story by a guy named Ray Nelson
Oh.
called 8 o'clock in the Morning. Yeah, it's just a really fun, funny sort of B movie. It's very cheesy. It's very kind of over the
Okay.
top in certain elements.
Gotcha.
Like I said, pretty low budget, only $3 million dollar
Hmm.
budget, but it's just a lot of fun to watch. A lot of stuff going on. It's nothing's taken too seriously, and it has some kind of fun action. And he's a wrestler, so there's a scene where he's trying to get Keith David to put on the glasses to show him, hey, look, this is the real world. You need to look at this. And he's like, no, man, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And they have this huge fist fight in this alley, which probably lasts, I would say, at least 10 minutes. It's probably the longest fight scene in movie history. But it's just them throwing each other into,
Oh.
walls and dumpsters and just all this crazy stuff that Roddy Piper came up with the entire choreography on. It's just
Wow.
a wrestling
That's
match in the middle of
funny.
the movie,
That's funny.
basically. So yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun, kind of silly movie. That just has a lot of kind of interesting subtext to it that I like a lot. Kind of a slow opening. A lot of people criticize the first and second acts of being a little too slow, but
Hmm.
once it kind of ramps up, it kind of has a cool climax to it. So yeah, just a movie I get a kick out of. I've got the Blu-ray up here. Shout Factory put out a really nice edition, a lot of bonus features and interviews with
Hmm.
John Carpenter and the cast and
Oh.
stuff like that. So yeah, just one that I get a big kick out of. I have a lot of fun with. That is definitely worth a watch. You have not seen this one?
No, I don't know how I had missed it because
Yeah.
especially in the 80s, I watched
Right.
every horror movie, even the bad
Right.
ones. And
Yeah.
I think I definitely remember the title. I didn't realize that it was maybe a little bit lighter. I thought it was maybe more just pure scary, but I had no
Yeah. I mean,
idea.
it doesn't lean heavy either way, really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely
Yeah.
got some scary moments. It's definitely got
Okay.
some comedic moments.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's more of just that kind of satirical,
Hmm.
vibe to it.
Yeah,
It's
I
like the stuff
gotcha.
that's going on. It's like, oh, I see what they're doing there. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yep.
thing.
Hmm.
But just clever, just a clever,
Yeah.
fun movie to watch. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, that had to make my list. And so that's in at number five. Now we're on to your number four. What you got?
I've got Zombieland at number four.
Great pick. Great pick. Yeah, this was another one very close to making my list. I wasn't
Ah.
didn't mention it in honorable mentions because I figured it would probably be in your list because I know you're a big fan of this one. Yeah, I did get
Yes.
to rewatch this
Oh.
this week. I watched it with the commentary, and
Oh.
the
I need to
commentary
watch
has
that
the
commentary.
director, both the writers, Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg. So it's
Oh, I got
a
to listen
very,
to that.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lively discussion. They cover a lot of different things. So yeah, I had a lot of
Nice.
fun rewatching that one. But yeah,
Sweet.
good pick.
Yeah, and so I mean, most people probably know, but those that haven't seen it, it's basically about a group trying to stay alive, a small group trying to stay alive during the zombie apocalypse. This is actually a pretty small cast too, except during a few of the zombie scenes where there's obviously a bunch of extras.
Right.
But mostly it's kind of a road comedy
Mm.
with zombies
Yeah,
that get
that's
in the
right.
way at
Yeah.
times.
Yep.
There's ongoing nods to the camera. There's narration, right
Mm.
from the beginning, and
Right.
Jesse Eisenberg is talking to the audience and explaining what's going on, and it's great acting throughout. I love this kind of zombie film where again it's not so focused on the gore or even the scariness, but just sort of the idea that it's kind of like we live now, except there's very few people, and you could like walk into anybody's house, or you'll come across something, you don't know what's in it. Is it going to kill me? Is it
Right. Right.
but I just like the environment of this film. I guess it
Yeah.
looks great too. There's so many laugh out loud moments in this movie. Amber Heard is in this movie
That's
as
right.
the roommate
That's
at the
right. She
beginning.
is. Yep.
Yeah,
I
and there's a
totally forgot
certain
that when she came up. I was like, oh, look.
right, yeah, and then and she's not trying to kill Johnny Depp. Um,
Just Jesse Eisenberg.
just Jesse, yeah, just a different person. And there's a certain famous person in this film too that's super hilarious, and I won't ruin it in case
Oh
anyone hasn't seen it.
yes.
But
Great
yeah,
cameo.
it's just one I've seen several times, and it's just hilarious from start to finish.
Yeah, I like that. I like all the stuff that you mentioned, mentioning the opening narration where he's giving us the rules, his rules that he's written for
Yeah,
how to live in this crazy
yeah,
world, and
yeah,
I like how he ends up breaking the rules later on in the movie and rewriting a few of them.
right.
That's a fun element to it. The different types of zombies that he
Hmm.
explains, I think, is a cool element to it as well. Very
Yeah,
clever writing, just
yes.
really, really interesting, different type of zombie movie. You mentioning about them being able to kind of just go in anywhere and do anything. I love the scene where they smash the store up. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes. I think
Yes, that's
everyone's kind of
awesome.
wanted to do that.
Yeah,
Like you walk into
yeah.
a place like that, especially with like a lot of glass and stuff, like
Hmm.
like really nice stuff, and you're like, man, it would be really fun to just wreck this place. And they get to do it. They really did it.
I know. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
this is the kind of movie where it gives you time to sort of think about those kind of things. Like, what would I
right.
do? I mean, where
Yeah,
would I go, and what would I try to like? Would I try to like break into like a movie star's house, or would I try
right.
to do what the possibilities are endless, really,
Sure,
unless you get
sure.
come across some zombies that take you out.
Right,
But
right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really fun. A lot of good ideas, and the cast is just perfect. The cast, each role is perfectly cast.
yeah,
They so
yeah. Emma
inhabit those
Stone and
characters. Yeah, Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin, when they come across
yes,
them,
yeah,
and you learn
right,
about who they are and their whole backstory is great.
yeah.
They play so well off each other. The relationships and the way those develop is so
Mhm.
great too. The sequel didn't quite do it for me. I didn't think it was quite as strong,
Not quite as strong.
but
Yeah,
this
yeah,
movie just is tons of fun.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on with my number four, which is An American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
This is from 1981. It's directed by the great John Landis, one of my favorite directors. I think he is one of the best comedy directors ever. And this is probably his best movie. It's not my favorite of his. My favorite is Blues Brothers. But if I had to pick his best movie, I would probably have to pick this just
really?
because you haven't seen it.
No, I have not.
Okay,
No.
interesting. Gotcha. So you got to check it out. it is, to me, of all the movies on my list, the scariest for sure. It is
Hmm.
very scary, certain moments. Some great body horror. It's about two American guys hitchhiking in the UK, and they get attacked by a werewolf.
Oh,
And one of them, of course, ends up turning into a werewolf himself. And there's this transformation scene, the first time he actually transforms, that is just crazy. I mean, it is
hmm.
gruesome. It is so realistic looking. Rick Baker, famous creature effects guy, did all the makeup and effects for this, and he just went all out. I mean, this looks so good.
Really?
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent. So
Hmm. Okay.
really terrifying, but it's got this really dark sense of humor to it as well.
Oh.
That had a couple of moments that definitely will make you laugh, but
Hmm.
other moments where you're just going, "Oh, should I laugh at that? Is this funny? Is this not funny?" You know, it's kind of makes you a little uncomfortable certain moments, but it's just really well done, really well
Huh.
written,
Okay.
great direction, great cast. Not very well known cast, but they all just do a great job. The title is actually, the title itself is kind of funny. An American Werewolf in London. It's taken from An American in Paris, which is a 1950s
Oh.
musical with Gene Kelly, and a 1935 black and white monster movie, Werewolf of London.
Oh.
So he just combined those two
Gotcha.
titles to make his own title. It's
Interesting.
it's only about an hour and a half long. You know, it's pretty quick
Uh-huh.
runtime. About a $5 million budget. Ended up grossing over 62 million when it was released back in '81. Just really good. This one again, it perfectly blends these two genres. Leans a little more into the horror, this kind of very eerie atmosphere that's created.
Hmm.
But there's a couple of needle drops in it. The soundtrack, it's just they're just perfect song choices for
Hmm.
and kind of alleviate some of the tension that the
Gotcha.
movie creates.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'll have to
Um,
watch that one.
yeah, movie I really enjoy. All right, so that's my number four. What is your number three?
It is Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell.
Oh, I still haven't seen this.
Oh no.
I know I'm a huge
Oh
fan
yeah.
of him too.
Yes.
I haven't
Stars
watched it.
Justin Long, another Justin Long
Okay,
shout out here.
okay,
And it's about a woman that works at a bank. She's a loan officer, I guess, played by Allison Lohman. And she kind of makes a decision on an account and ends up being cursed by this patron of the bank. And some bad things happen as a result.
yeah,
This is definitely the scariest movie on my list by far.
yeah,
And it's there are some legitimate scary things that
right.
happen, not throughout the entire film, but there's a couple
Uh-huh.
scenes, one involving a parking garage and one involving a wake, that are scary. Well, okay, they're scary, and then it turns into some extreme comedy at the same time. I mean, Sam Raimi. I mean,
Oh,
like,
right,
it's
sure,
along the lines of what what you'd expect from the maker of Evil Dead 1, 2, and
right,
3.
sure.
And so anyway, yeah, just a really enjoyable plot. And Justin Long is such a he's just such an enjoyable purveyor of his craft. Like, I like almost
Sure.
everything he's in, and he's really good in
Mhm.
this too. He
Yep.
plays the boyfriend of the girl that's been cursed,
Okay.
and it's really engaging. It's, like I said, it's scary a couple times, and then just funny throughout. And
Okay.
it's again, it's another one that I've seen several times. This
Yeah.
is one of those that if someone's at my house and they're like, "Hey, you want to watch a scary movie?" and I'm like, "Well, have you seen Drag Me to Hell?" and most
Yeah.
people say no, because I
Right.
guess few people have seen this film.
Yeah.
And then almost everybody loves this movie and is
Okay.
laughing throughout.
Right.
So I don't want to give much away on it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very enjoyable. Very
Okay.
enjoyable. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's one it's on the watch list. So maybe before Halloween night, I'll be able to watch this one, although I've got quite a few that I still want to see that I haven't seen yet. But
Yeah.
I'll try to squeeze that one in maybe. Because yeah, I definitely want to check it out because I'm a big Raimi fan. So
Yeah, I can't say it's my favorite Sam Raimi film, because
yeah,
obviously the Spider-Man films,
sure.
and others too, frankly.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, it's a really good. It's funny and scary both. It's really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. I'll check it out. Cool. All right. So that was your three. So on to my number three, which is Joe Dante's The Burbs.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yeah. We've talked about this before, this film.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. This is one we watch every year. This is one we
uh,
definitely watch every year. I've got the Blu-ray. So, yeah, it came out in 1989. It's got an hour and 41-minute runtime, $18 million budget. Only made about 49 million, so not a huge hit, but definitely has gained popularity over time.
Before
Um,
Tom Hanks sort of took off like he
Oh
did.
yeah, sure. This is before Forrest Gump, before Saving Private Ryan, all that big
Yeah.
stuff that he did when he was
Right.
still doing a lot of comedy. He started off
Yes.
basically as a comedic actor. Splash, Big,
Yep.
all that
Hmm.
stuff. So this is that time
Kind
era.
of a disappointment for him, though. I mean, not a huge hit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not a
Yeah.
huge hit yet for him compared to especially what he would do later. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's Joe Dante. He's one of the best at this genre. I feel like the Gremlins movies are his. He does that horror
Okay.
comedy
Yeah.
blend really well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like this movie a lot. You don't just have Tom Hanks. You've got Bruce Dern. You've got Carrie
Yeah.
Fisher.
Oh, sure.
Lot of good actors and actresses. Just a really really good cast. Playing very relatable characters.
Hmm.
I feel like each character is one that you've kind of met before, or maybe even lived next to. They live on this cul-de-sac, and so they all know each other pretty well. And this new family moves in next door to Tom
Hmm.
Hanks's character, and they're a little strange. They don't come out of their house very often. The
Is
house
that Bruce
is
Dern?
no. Bruce Dern's the across the street guy. He's kind of a like
Oh.
ex-military
Oh.
um, guy, kind of conspiracy theorist, type
Gotcha.
character. He's a lot of fun. Rick DeMonican is next door, and he is a kind of very nosy neighbor,
Uh.
very kind of loud and boisterous, always getting them into trouble. And so, yeah, these three characters interact with these neighbors, the Klopeks, who move in and just seem very strange, and their house is not very well kept, and doing all kinds of weird things in the backyard and noises coming out of the basement and things like this. So they all kind of band together to kind of figure out what's going on basically next door,
Mhm.
and all kinds of mayhem ensues. Just really funny. It's one of those that kind of plays with your expectations because you're not sure if these people really are weird and there is something going on, or are these neighbors just really paranoid. So it kind of plays with your expectations a little bit, in a fun way. Has a great ending, I think. It's really just a fun kind of premise, very again relatable. I feel like
Yeah.
this could be any neighborhood in America. We even growing up, we had neighbors that were similar right next door, that their house, they didn't really keep up the yard or house very well. They were kind of in and out. You didn't really see them very often.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's just one of those very relatable things, that anyone who kind of lives in the suburbs can relate to. A lot of quotable dialogue that we enjoy as
Uh,
well. So yeah, definitely want to check out if you haven't seen it.
yeah, I've missed out. I thought maybe I'd seen it at one point, but I would have been
Mm,
pretty young. So I think
sure.
maybe that was the problem of it
Yeah.
not being very memorable.
Right. Right.
But I definitely need to check that out again because I don't remember anything about it if I saw it. So it's definitely one I'm going to hunt down.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely check it out, and let me know what you think.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my number three. Now we're moving right on to our number twos. Bert, what's your number two?
My number two is Monsters Inc.
Oh, that's a great pick. Yeah, I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. And hopefully everyone has seen this movie, but if not, I mean, obviously, there's these monsters that have their monster city and they have to scare children in the real world so the children will scream.
Mhm.
And then but then the children are toxic to the monsters, and then one night a little girl makes it through the portal between the human world and the monster world, and then chaos ensues. And it's a great concept. I mean,
Yeah.
Pixar does really good at coming up with these terrific concepts, which just sort of
Yes.
write themselves in some ways, you know.
Right, right,
But the idea that there really are monsters in your closet, but
right.
they have to pretend to scare. They're actually just people that show up to work and
Right.
punch a clock.
Yeah, it's
It's so
great.
it's just so zany, just even the plot, you know.
Right.
It's and it's a wonderful universe. You know, this is fairly early on in the 3D animation, and a few movies I think early on felt kind of devoid of character, you know.
Yeah,
They felt kind of empty
right,
some in certain films, but this one really is just very vast. It's very rich in color. I love the palette in this film,
right.
and it was breakthrough animation at the time. I mean, I remember it was
Mhm.
the first film where I thought, oh, they finally have hair now that looks like individual hairs
Yeah,
from like Sully's fur and stuff like
sure.
that. Like you can kind of start to see the development of the CGI a lot better.
Yep.
In fact, I was looking at a demo in Circuit City around the time after this movie had come out, and it was the first like HDTV.
Oh yeah.
and Monsters Inc. was on, and the salesman said, "Yeah, look at this. You can see like the little hairs even in this movie." And he's like, I don't know why he said this, but he's like, it actually made me sick to my stomach. I'm like, oh yeah, that is
Oh,
pretty good. And
I guess I want to
now I'm
buy
like,
this now.
like looking back, I'm like, why was that a sales pitch? But
Right.
so strange.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, obviously the voice work is terrific. Billy
Yeah.
Crystal, they just let him riff, and then they sort of built his scenes around that a little bit. Frequent Pixar participant John Ratzenberger as the Yeti is
Mm.
hilarious. The
It's
little girl is played by a girl named Mary, a late lady probably now, by the
yeah,
name of Mary Gibbs. And it was just such a
yeah,
really cute, heartfelt performance that they captured. The
definitely.
film the film just has so much heart. It's got such
Hmm.
a sweet ending, and it's
Yeah. Oh man.
hilarious throughout the whole film.
Right.
It's probably my favorite animated film. I don't love animation in general, but there are
Yeah.
many that I've enjoyed, and
Yeah.
this one is right at the top. It's basically a perfect film.
Yeah, that is definitely one of Pixar's best. Really good. I've seen this movie, I don't know how many times because my brother, just excellent, excellent movie. Um, John Goodman, Billy Crystal, the way they play off each other is so well done.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure they recorded their dialogue together.
Maybe, yeah,
It
maybe.
seems like they did. So yeah, and then Steve Buscemi as the villain, and
Yeah,
just
he's really
like
good.
it's
Yeah,
a great cast, like you said, great
yeah.
animation, great idea,
Hmm.
very well written, a lot of heart, a lot of comedy. Definitely some scary moments too. You know, it's got a couple of creepy moments. Randall
Sure.
and his cold camouflage thing, and they utilize
Right.
that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, great film. Good pick. All right, on to my number two, which is Army of Darkness. This
I wondered if
is
that was going to come up.
yeah, this is one of my all-time
Again, you
favorite
should.
movies. Honestly,
Ah,
I remember watching this so vividly with my brother just a couple Halloweens ago. Can't be more than 2 or 3 years ago that we watched all three Evil Dead movies,
yeah.
like in
That's what
one
I did. I
week.
watched all three for the first time, actually.
Right, right. Yeah, so we watched them all within just a few days of each other, and
Hmm.
yeah, we greatly enjoyed all of them after watching the first one, which is more horror,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah.
second one blends the two,
Sure, I
horror
get
and
that.
comedy, and we were like, man, Evil Dead, dude, that was so crazy. How is he gonna top that? And then we put in Army of Darkness, and it's just he went all out. It's like just crazy, zany, weird, bizarre
Yeah,
comedy. Definitely, some scary moments too. Great
sure.
creatures, creature effects, makeup,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. He just really went all out with it. So, the original title was Medieval Dead,
Oh, that would have been
which
a great
I
title.
think was a much better one. I think
Yeah.
I haven't been able to figure out why they changed it. I don't know if the studio wanted it to be less connected and maybe try to gain a new audience. I don't know what the story was behind it, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, Medieval Dead is a better title for sure. But yeah, tons of fun. Like I said, Raimi just kind of lets loose with his style. He goes crazy with it. Bruce Campbell, who you mentioned when you mentioned this as honorable mention, uh, just such a talented guy. I mean, just
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone could pull this off the way he does. It's just really a specific performance.
It's
And what
almost Oscar worthy. And I know that seems
I agree.
ridiculous, but
No, I
he
totally
really,
agree.
like, he throws himself into this role, and
Yeah,
there's so much crazy stuff. Like, I
right,
don't know any actor that could have, Tom Hanks couldn't have gone any crazier than Bruce
right.
Campbell did.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it is a one of a kind performance, and he's a one of a kind actor. And I don't know why he never became a leading man. I don't know if it was
Yeah, I
just
don't know why either.
he didn't
Yeah.
get the right roles for some reason. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
just a great actor. He's excellent. He's excellent in everything. I'm always happy to see him pop up in whatever Sam Raimi does. The new Doctor Strange, he pops
Yeah, he's
in a
always got a
fun
little
role,
part. Yeah.
right? Right. So yeah, he's just great in it. Hilarious moments throughout this entire movie. I'm just laughing. It's got some, kind of fun action sequences as well. The effects work is really fun, top notch. It's not got a huge budget. It was only $11 million. This one came out in '92, so it wasn't a big budget at all. Um, but they managed to use every penny very wisely, I feel like. And it does have that
Yeah.
kind of, I think intentionally has that kind of cheap looking, almost B movie feel to it, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what they're
Yeah.
going for. So all
Yeah.
of that works really well. It's just, very stylish, very inventive in the way they utilize the camera and the effects and everything. And has just a lot of charm to it, I feel like.
Hmm.
So yeah, I get a big kick out of it. I've watched it every year since I first watched it. I've got the Shout Factory Blu-ray put out a great three
Oh.
disc version,
Oh,
which has the
nice.
theatrical version, the director's cut, and the international cut.
Oh,
Which I
okay.
haven't been able to watch all of them yet, but they have
Yeah.
a lot of commentaries and interviews on there. So
Oh, nice. I need to pick that
um,
up then. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to dive into that because I haven't been able to watch all of the material on there yet, but definitely will be doing that. So yeah, Army of Darkness, just one of my favorite movies. Came in. It was between this and number one. Went back and forth several times, but that one ended up at number two.
Well, I'll say one more thing about it too. It's so strange to watch two movies like Evil Dead 1 and 2, and then not really be all in on those because because of the gore. I mean, was what
Right.
really what it was for me.
Sure.
Other than that, they're pretty entertaining films.
Right.
And then to have a third one, that one then is actually really good
Right.
instead of the first two. I mean, I'm glad I made it all
Right.
the way through,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I
Me
will
too.
say,
Because each
yeah,
one is distinct.
yes, but
Yeah.
you really wouldn't want to walk into a theater in 92 or 93 never having seen Evil Dead 1 or 2 and watch this film.
Sure.
And so it's a
Yeah.
bit daring, it's a bit bold. And another aspect of that is the way it's so different from the first two, obviously a different universe altogether almost or something.
Yeah.
It's almost like what you might see if a director had made a part 1 and 2 and then handed it off to somebody and they're like, well, I'm not making that, I'm making something totally different,
Right.
but
That's
it
true.
was the
Yeah.
same director.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
very interesting to me, the whole thing is, and it's funny.
It is. Yeah. It's a really interesting trilogy because, yeah, each one is so distinct and, yeah, but they're all by the same guy. It just shows his talent as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. He
It's just
really,
daring, it's
yeah,
daring to do what he did.
sure, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Okay. Well, we're already on to our number ones. So, Bert, tell me, what is your number one favorite horror comedy of all time?
Going back a little ways,
Oh,
probably the oldest film I brought in, Young Frankenstein.
that's my number one.
Oh,
Yes.
awesome. That's
Wow. That's the
great.
first
That's
time that's
great.
ever happened.
That is the first time, especially for number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We might
Right.
have had it
Yeah.
back to back before, but
Definitely. I'll let you take the lead on it. Go for it.
yeah, I mean, obviously loosely based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, written by, I didn't know Gene Wilder even wrote it. I found that out when I was
Yeah.
looking into it a little bit. Written by Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks.
Yep.
And the plot, I mean, he's the grandson of the famous Frankenstein. He travels to Transylvania, and
Mhm.
then he finds out that his purpose, I guess, is to reanimate a dead body, even though he sort of disavows that at the beginning of the film.
Right. He even calls
Um,
himself Frankenstein, not
to
Frankenstein.
differentiate, yeah,
Right.
and only to embrace it later.
Right.
Filmed in black and white on purpose, to sort of capture the look of the old, I guess the Universal, right,
Yep.
monster films.
Yep.
But it's really send up of those films, but it's not entirely slapstick.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the brilliance of it, is that they do have a coherent plot. It's
Yeah.
not just like Spaceballs, is that's pretty much all slapstick. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
just
Sure.
all silliness.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah. Brooks, I mean, he's become known, he's the guy that does the spoof movies.
the spoof,
He
yeah, the
takes a
spoof,
genre and just parodies it and
right,
just, kind of takes everything serious out of it, just makes fun of it.
yeah,
But he doesn't do it in a mean-spirited way, which I
right,
think is why his succeeds so well. You can tell he's a fan, right?
yes, yeah,
And
yeah, oh,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, that's why this works so well, I think.
Yeah, the movie's billed as the scariest comedy of all time. That's just them being funny, right? Because there's
Right.
nothing scary in this. They don't even
No,
try to scare you. So I think
no,
even that is kind of funny, because they're like, "Oh, the scariest comedy of all time," when clearly it's not.
right.
The cast: Gene Wilder, Terry Garr, Marty Feldman, Peter Boyle, Cloris Leachman, and actually Gene Wilder and Gene Hackman are in the same
That's
movie.
right. Yes.
And I listened to the commentary on this
Me
earlier
too.
today, actually. Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently they were tennis buddies. I never knew
Right.
this.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know,
So weird.
so it's, hi Gene, how you doing? Hey Gene.
Right.
Apparently, and Gene Wilder throws everything at this role, and it's so brilliant.
Yep.
It's inexplicable. You have to see it to believe it. I
Yeah.
didn't watch this movie until, I want to say, 98,
Okay.
and very low expectations. I gotta be honest. It's
Right.
black and
Sure.
white. You know me, I'm not real big into like the older movies too, but I
Right.
do. I
Sure.
mean, I was trying to basically watch everything that Gene Wilder's ever been in.
Okay.
And this was one of them.
Yeah.
And just immediately I was like, whoa, this is really funny and really
Yeah.
good.
It is.
And some of the lines are so over the top
Yeah.
that just the way they say them is funny. Not
Right.
even There's not even actual comedy. It's just the way the actors are bringing it. I mean,
Yes.
it's just hard to even describe. If no one, if
Yeah.
someone's not seen the movie,
Sure.
hopefully it would still land. I think it would, but it's tremendous.
Yeah, I think this is timeless. I think this, and the black and white, I think actually helps it be timeless
Yeah, I think
because
so too. I
it
think so
does
too.
it does play into, like you said, the kind of, paying homage to the 30s monster movies that it's based on and that it's inspired by, obviously. But yeah, I think audiences will get a kick out of this no matter when they watch it, because
Yeah.
it's not 1970s comedy, right? It's like it's
Yeah,
timeless
exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
comedy that's just gonna work, whenever you watch it. So yeah, it's genius on
Right.
every level, from the script to the performances. I think it's Wilder's best. I mean, it's right there with Willy Wonka. That's a
I
that's a
think
great
so
one.
too. But I
Um,
think it is his best. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's genius in this because of just the way he's playing it. It's just
And
so
he
good
was
the
able
way.
to write entire sections of scenes
Yeah.
and tailor them exactly how he wanted them.
Hmm.
And the man had a talent. I mean, he was very funny.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was hilarious. And the way he plays off of, Marty Feldman as Igor,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just their back and forth is great. Terry Garr, what they do together is great. Peter Boyle, of course, later in the movie as the monster. Just all wonderful, wonderful actors and actresses, and all comedic actors and actresses that are just
Right.
really, really smart and come up with some great stuff. Just like you mentioned, delivery of the lines and everything.
Oh, so many
Um,
quotable lines in this thing.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So many visual gags as well. That they really utilize the cinematic language to get across plenty of hilarious moments and scenes. So all of it just works so well. It's shot so well. I mean, this movie just looks great. I mean, just the
Yeah. Yeah.
framing, the editing, all of it is just really well done. The way they utilize music and everything, it really does set a mood. It really does have that horror aspect, that atmosphere, that those Universal monster movies
Mhm.
had, and these big kind of shots of the castles and
Right.
outdoors and all this stuff. So it's just technically very well done as well. It's just
Yeah.
a good movie.
Yeah.
Even if you take the comedy out of it, It's just a well-made film. It was actually
Right.
nominated for Best Sound and
Oh,
Best
was it?
Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, it was a big hit even back then. It had only it was under $3 million budget,
Oh.
and it
Oh,
ended up
that's
gross.
right. They talk about that in the commentary a little bit. They
Yeah,
had to fight to get
yeah,
it to be 3 million.
yeah. They had a hard time getting financing for it, and it ended up grossing over $86
Yeah.
million. So it was a huge hit. And of course, Brooks did Blazing Saddles and, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, all these great spoof movies. But this is
Yeah.
definitely his best. He considers it
Yes.
his best, and I do too, because it's just, again, it's just well made, just a well made movie
Yeah.
technically.
Right.
On top of all of the great kind of funny stuff that's going on. It's on tons of best funniest movies of all time list, AFI,
Yeah. I'm
Total
not surprised.
Film,
Yeah.
all these different outlets put it on their lists, and yeah, it's definitely well deserved.
Yeah. At the end of the commentary, Mel Brooks says that when he watches it, and especially when it ends, he gets a bit emotional. And I'm not surprised because
Yeah,
it's his crown jewel. It's probably
yeah,
Gene Wilder's crown. I mean, so
yeah.
actually, when the commentary was recorded, I think it was back in the '90s. But
Mm,
now even more of those actors have since passed away.
right.
But even at that time, Marty Feldman, sadly, and he was a
Mm,
very unique guy to say the
yeah,
least.
sure, sure.
But yeah, great one.
Yeah, it's an all timer. It's an all timer for me. 5-star film,
Oh, definitely.
and one
Yeah.
of my favorite, movies of all time. Definitely one that I revisit often as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it had to be at number one, because it's just the best.
Yeah.
I'm glad we both agree.
Yeah, we do. We do apparently this time.
Right. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Real World Podcast, our favorite horror comedy films of all time. This was a fun one. Thanks for joining me, Bert.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is really fun.
Yep. A lot of fun watching these as well, obviously. So be sure you leave us a comment below with your favorite horror comedy films, and make sure you give us a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications of all our videos here at The Real World, and we will see you next time.